Hey everyone, welcome back to my podcast. I'm your host Sajad, and in today's video, we're going to be talking to Zachary Wilson, a content creator who has previously been a software engineer, data engineer, and it's been pretty insane for him. He's going to be sharing his salary progression with us, his experiences in his career with us. So there's a lot of value in this episode, and I can't wait for you guys to meet Zach. Zach, first of all, thank you so much for joining us on today's video. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here. I like what you're doing here with this podcast and all your content, kind of like demystifying things and trying to, help people see like, yeah, you can make good money in software engineering, but like, it's not just like, oh, I learned Python for 2 months and now I make $1 million, right? It's like, because I feel sometimes some boot camps out there and stuff like that, they like kind of perpetuate that myth, and that's not necessarily the right way to go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know I gave a little bit of an introduction about you. Could you introduce yourself a little?
Been in the data engineering, software engineering space for about 10 years now. I started my career in 2014. That's when I graduated college. Got a dual major in applied math and computer science. Initially, I was just going to do applied math, but my brother was like, you got to do computer science too. And I'm very, very, very grateful for that. And so then I like kind of dabbled around in a couple different places. I've been kind of both like a data engineer and a software engineer. And I've noticed like for me, I kind of jump between the two a lot.
Sweet. So I think I actually came across your content, like I said before, of that like really famous like salary progression video where you worked a bunch of jobs over the last decade, sharing your numbers with us. Let's just reenact that. What was your salary progression as a data software engineer?
Sure. Yeah, like so. Interestingly enough, so like when I graduated college, I actually had 2 offers on the table for me that I like, and I really feel like that decision defined a lot of my life. So the 2 offers in front of me when I started my career was I could make $30,000 a year working at a data science startup, working with a bunch of PhDs. The other offer I had was $60,000 a year working for the government, working on like weapon systems for the government. Those are like the 2 offers I had on the table. And like for me, it was interesting because the deciding the money was like, oh, I was like, wow, like I've worked so hard. I have 2 bachelor's degrees and I'm going to make $15 an hour. Like that's what I ended up going with that decision because it was mostly because that other offer was going to keep me in my hometown. And I was like, I can't. I don't want to stay in my hometown. I got to go.
So you sacrificed $30,000?
Yeah. And like,
okay.
Just to like go and see the world a little bit. Right. And like, and it was more in the other space, right? Because that weapon systems role was it was like a C#, C++, like application development role. And I was just like, not really about that as much because I felt like I needed to do something that honored the fact that I was good at math. Like, and I just feel like building a web app is not that. Building a web app is not very math heavy at all. So that was the other thing. It was the combination of like, I love math and I have to get out of my hometown. So yeah, my very first role out of college, I made $30K. And the good news is that like in 1 year, I feel like I already proved out that like it was the better decision. And then because in my second year, I switched from like data analysis intern to data engineering. And I went from 30K to 80K, and that was a big jump for me, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
and that was like,
almost tripled.
yeah, and like, but that also, the fact I was able to pull that off in a year made me be like, yeah, that's right, because I knew the government wasn't going to give me that kind of raise. They weren't even going from 60 to 80. They're not going to do that in a year. The government's not going to do 60 to 80 in a year, right? Definitely not. And so, like, I was really happy about that. I worked at a company called Teradata. They're still around. They're an interesting company. They're kind of like an old school database company now, but I didn't work at Teradata very long though. I only worked at Teradata for like 6 months. And the main reason for that is that I was working there and I realized I just didn't want to live in Utah anymore. And so I moved to Washington, D.C. There I worked for like a military contractor, company called Research Innovations. I got a little bit of a bump there. I went from 80K to 95K. But with cost of living, it was actually not a raise. It was actually, I was making less money. I was making significantly less money because Utah versus DC has a significantly higher cost of living. I worked there for like 6 months. That was a fun little opportunity. That's when I really got more into like the big data space and like getting even more like hands-on. One of the things there though was that like I needed to get like a top secret clearance to stay working at that job. That was like a requirement. And like I didn't get my top secret clearance. I failed. I got really sad about that. I was like, why am I in DC? I can't get a clearance. And then so anyways, that's when a Facebook recruiter reached out to me and was like, hey, you should come interview at Facebook. And I was like, wow, the stars are aligning, because it was the same day I got the same day that I got freaking my clearance declined and getting that recruiter to reach out, same day.
So one door closed, the other opened.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, wow, this is destiny, right?
Yeah.
And so then I get the role at Facebook. That role was pretty good. That one it's like 180, like 170, 180, something like that. Like data engineering role, junior data engineer. I actually was kind of upset that I got the junior role, because I thought I already had 2 years of experience. It's like, imagine like having 2 years of experience and being like, hey, you're a junior, right? And it's like, hey man, I'm not. But like, and I actually think that was why I didn't stay at Facebook very long. Because like once they hire you at a level, that's your level. Like, and you have to fight it for the rest of the time. And like, I realized that after like 2 or 3 months at Facebook, that I was going to need to work really, really hard in order to become a senior engineer in time. The good news was like, I did have a quick turnaround. I was able to get promoted from junior to mid-level in like 6 months. Like it was because I was like, I just murdered it, like just delivered tons of value. And my goal was I wanted to get promoted to senior in a year after that. That was my goal, was like, I wanted to like catch up, because I felt like once I had 4 years of experience, I should be a senior engineer. When I got that promotion, I went from like 180 to like 230 when I was like a mid-level at Facebook. Then I just couldn't, like, my manager was not supportive of getting me promoted to senior engineer, even though like what I did for Facebook was like so much. I saved them millions and millions and millions of dollars. And like, I was like, y'all aren't even going to give me like a 50K of the million. Come on, come on. That's insane. And so that's when I got really upset at Facebook, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to leave. And then that's when I got the role at Netflix. The other thing though, was I wanted to leave data engineering. I didn't want to be a data engineer anymore. I want to be a software engineer. And that was the other thing my manager said at Facebook, was like, if I transitioned from data engineer to software engineer, I would be down leveled. And so he was saying I'd go from L4 to L3, be a junior software engineer, when I thought I was almost on the brink of being a senior software engineer. Yeah. That's like two levels, right? Two very, very different. I talked with the people at Netflix, and it was actually my previous manager at Facebook was at Netflix, and he like hired me. So I was like, I worked with the same guy at Facebook, Netflix. It was like a crazy like the transition. I was like, wow. And he also hired a bunch of other people for my team. So it was like a lot of the people from Facebook were on my team at Netflix. It was like the same team. And so anyways, my manager said, he was like, come in, we're going to hire you as a data engineer, but I'm sure I can get you to transition in 6 months from senior data engineer to senior software engineer. And that was kind of like what we ended up doing was that, right? And so when I got the role at Netflix, I went from like 230 to like 360-ish, right? And Netflix is a crazy company though, because like Netflix, they pay very, very competitively, and they reward impact. So in my first year there, I delivered tons of impact. We landed patents. We did a lot of cool stuff with graph databases and risk analysis, bunch of really, really powerful, impactful, long-term value for Netflix. And so they actually bumped me from 360 to 550 in my 1 year there. And like, I thought about like, when I got that raise, I was like, wait a minute, the raise I just got was like more money than like my role 2 years ago. Like the raise, just the raise part was more.
Yeah. Insane.
Like freaking madness. And so that company is really cool in like how they pay people. Around 2020, I got really burnt out though. I was like done. I freaking, I was like, wow, I've been working so hard, been grinding. Like 2016 to 2020 was like 4 years of just like grinding and building. Because during all of that, I was also like launching startups on the side and learning a lot about JavaScript and all this other stuff as well to like really get my skills up. I know that stuff is very important, especially for what I'm doing now. Like the stuff that I did back then is very important for what I'm doing now. But like, anyways, I quit my job in March 2020 because I had dreams of traveling the world and being a professional gamer and all these like silly kid dreams a little bit. And it didn't work out. I'm not Booga. I do not have millions of dollars, and I don't just win all my Fortnite tournaments, right? But it was an interesting experience to try out. And then around the beginning of 2021, that's when I got the job at Airbnb, and that's when I started making content. And Airbnb gave me a little bit of a bump from like 550 to 575, which was awesome. It was a wild ride. Airbnb stock was wild because I joined right after the IPO. The stock has never come back. The stock was at 210 when I got hired, and go look at it right now. It's like 130, right? It's like still like freaking a lot lower. At one point, it was 80. It went from 210 to 80, and I was like, wow, that's an L. That's an L right there. That's like a freaking fat L. And so, yeah, I lost like $1 million in my options over that time. So like it made it so the role wasn't as competitive. Good news though is that Airbnb has a lot of good refreshers. So once a year you get more stocks. So like it kind of balances out. Like the longer you work there, the more likely it is that your compensation will balance out with all of your coworkers. Over the long term. So I was able to still get closer to that like $500,000, $600,000 a year compensation range, even though the stock did take such a beating. And then I don't know, last year, March, I wanted to just try something new. And I was like, I'm going to quit and see what happens. And, here we are,
So quitting like 600K to basically do content to your business, has that been like ROI positive, making this jump?
Yeah. So for me, 600K was $600,000 is what I made in 7 months in content.
Oh, wow. Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. So, it was great. And I know this year is probably going to be closer to like 1.5 million, like in terms of business revenue, and stuff like that. And like, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of really powerful things that are going to happen this year. And like, I know that a lot of that was unlocked because of what I do. Keeping in mind that like, I think it is a little bit disingenuous to say that I made that from content, because that makes it seem like I posted TikTok videos and made $1 million from TikTok, or made $1 million from Instagram. Like, from all of the ad revenue from what? Because I get paid from YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. The only one that doesn't pay me is the one where I post the most, which is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has not given me a dime. I probably make like in ad revenue from the channels, like maybe like $5,000, $10,000 a year. Like it's not really that much money. Like for me, I have mainly two sources of revenue. One is Substack. So I have like about 500 to 1,000 people, something like that, pay me $10 a month. And that's a good source of revenue. It's like 5, 10K, something like that. The bigger source is also just my boot camps. Boot camps is where I'm going to be making the most money, where like I usually run a boot camp. It's like 6-week program. I generally aim for 150 to 200 students. And then each student pays $2,000. So like in those 6 weeks, I make like 400 grand, like between 300 and 400 grand. Usually that's like roughly what it is in terms of like payout for those 6 weeks. And then just do 3 of those a year. And you only have to really work 12 weeks a year or 18 weeks a year. And then like, there you go. That's 1.2 mil. And then like that, and then you also get the other 30 weeks a year to do what you want too, right? Yeah. So like it's kind of a better deal. It is definitely a better deal. And so like for me, like, when I was your age, I had a big dream of like I wanted to be a principal engineer in big tech by the time I was 30. That was my goal, right? And like honestly, like I was right on track to doing all of that. And like had I not left last year, I would have probably been there right now, like at Airbnb. Life happens. And like, I'm happy. I'm actually really happy with the change, because one of the things that I think is important, especially for people, once you start making a lot of money in roles, right, is like you start to identify with that role. And one of the things that happens there is it puts you in this interesting position of being kind of vulnerable, right? Because it's like you could get laid off, right? You could, and like all sorts of things can happen, and you want to be resilient, right? So.
Yeah, that's why I start telling people that, like, like your 9 to 5, you think it's like a traditional safe job. Well, given the market, it's not really that safe anymore, is it?
Yeah. And like, and I think that that's one of those things that is like going to keep being more that way because like AI is disrupting things so much. It's disrupting things so much. And like these companies, Google sees it. They're like, wow, like we could just use AI and we can just cut 30,000 people. It's like, wow. Like, it's like, it's wild how ruthless they are about it, where they're like, nah, we don't need those people anymore. Like, whatever. Right. It's like next, right. It's like, these are just machines, right? They're just like profit machines. They're very indifferent. Right. So
pretty much. Yeah. And I guess diving a little more into your background. So software engineer, data engineer, what are like similarities, differences? What skills do I need to know?
Yeah, great question. So, I would say for software engineering, that's probably the one that I like. I like software engineering a little bit more. I feel like I like both of them. Saying I like software engineering more, like my followers are like, you're the data engineering guy. What the hell? But like, I think for software engineering, I think the big things you need to know, right, is like, it all depends on like what kind of engineering you're doing, right? But most of the time, I feel like a lot of people, they say software engineering as a synonym for like full stack web development or front end, back end development, like one of the two, or full stack, right? So, I mean, in that case, obviously you need to know React, JavaScript, like those two. Next is pretty great. maybe like Django or Flask or like some of those technologies. But like learning those like kind of higher level technologies can be really good. But also like that's just to put the pieces together. But like if you actually want to write good performant code, you're going to need to know like data structures and algorithms and understand like how like space-time complexity works and like big O notation and kind of those lower level things. And then even lower level than that, right, is understanding like garbage collection and like how compilers work and the difference between interpreted and compiled languages and all that stuff. Like it's crazy how deep the rabbit hole actually goes in terms of like writing code. But like, I think those are the things that are good. And then testing. I think testing is also super important and one that like a lot of software engineers kind of just skip out on. They're like, I tested it, I ran the code, I logged in, I was able to click the button, and then it's like, then it doesn't work for anybody else, right? Yeah. And what about you? What do you think is important for software?
So honestly, I agree with a lot of what you said about like React.js. That's pretty much like my bread and butter right now. I work pretty much in that. Java, Python are like good starting points. Python specifically, just to get familiarized. But I really think that when it comes to software engineering, it's a discipline or like a branch of computer science. And so like understanding kind of like how code is like deployed, how we do like the agile methodology, that processing, because it like contrary to what a lot of people think, software engineers are not just code monkeys. Like that's part of the job, but that's not the entirety of the job. There's the part where you're actually like designing, creating like mockups, or you're not creating the mockups, you're like reviewing the mockups, talking to the PMs, and you're actually doing a lot of the testing, making sure the code is maintainable, resilient. So kind of having those like big like questions and really understanding like the fact that you're a problem solver, because honestly like you can pick up code, but like the way that you're thinking is fundamentally different than if you were not a software engineer.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, I think one of the things I would want to add to that is just like, as a software engineer, like, and I think that the code monkey kind of phrasing is also really bad because it's like, as a software engineer, you shouldn't be an order taker because sometimes product managers and sometimes people in the business, guess what? They kind of tell you to do things that are kind of stupid or kind of like not valuable or like, especially that's not as common in software engineering, but in data engineering, it's incredibly common. It's so common that there's like a meme about it where like, or the data analyst goes to the data engineer and says like, hey, can you just pull this data real quick? Right. And like, as if it's just like something they can do in 5 seconds or whatever. And like that whole idea of like trying to answer like quick ad hoc questions, just like quick, immediate ad hoc questions comes at the expense of thinking about things long-term and building long-term data modeling, robust data models that can answer all the questions, not just the one specific question that you have today, right? Yeah. And this happens in software engineering too, where like where you have like feature creep and scope creep, where like people are like, oh, we need this feature and this feature and this feature, where it's like they don't really understand the design principle around like less is more. Less is almost always more, and like, and it's better to have fewer features that are really good than to have a lot of features that suck. So, yeah, for sure.
And what about the data engineering side? So, like, what skills do I need to know? Because I don't really have much experience.
Sure. So, data engineering has, I'd say, there's like five. There's like five that are important. First, you need to know the languages. You need to know Python and SQL. Python and SQL are great. Depending on the data engineering role, you might need to add one more language there, and that language is Scala. Scala is actually the language I've been coding in the most over the last 5 years. I'm a Scala developer. Been doing almost pure Scala development. Like at Netflix and Airbnb, that's the only language I really coded. And it was like 80% Scala, 10% Python, 10% SQL. That's like my data engineering stack at those companies. But that's actually rare. Like most companies just do their data engineering in Python directly because they don't need like the high performance, high scale stuff that Scala gives you. Like, and because Scala also has all this complexity to it. But anyways, back to like the fundamentals there, like SQL, Python, you know, the languages. Number two, you need to know distributed compute, which is how to use a team of computers to process data, right? So how to do like a teamwork processing instead of like, because if you're doing data engineering with like one database or a single node, like you can only scale up so far. You can only scale up to maybe the tens of gigabytes, and then things are going to choke pretty quickly.
Wait, 1 second. So just like to rewind a little bit. So like I know software engineering fundamentally you're building programs that like clients are using. What is like the fundamental role of a data engineer?
Yeah, great question. So data, it's just in the name, right? It's like you are building data sets that answer questions, right? That's going to be the main thing. Well, it's like I always think of it as like the fundamental role is you build data sets that people use to make decisions, right? And then there's usually three decision makers, or I guess four. There's actually four decision makers. Like you have analysts and scientists, which is probably the number one most common consumer of your data. Number two is like executives and like kind of leaders. Three is like machine learning models, like where you take that data, you take your high quality data and pump it into a machine learning model. That's what I did at Airbnb. At Airbnb, I owned pricing and availability. So all the price and availability information, I owned all of that. And what we did, that data set was fed into a machine learning model called smart pricing. And smart pricing tried to pick the best price for a listing on a given night. And a lot of hosts on Airbnb, they don't set prices at all. They just let AI do it. And like that algorithm actually had a very, very big impact on the business, right? So making sure that the inputs to that are high quality and have good quality guarantees, very important part of being a data engineer. And then the fourth like decision maker is like your customer, where like you want to like display data to your customer, like, oh, you did this many leak code problems, or oh, this is your heart rate. Think about like Fitbit or like all these other companies that kind of have like their data sets and data engineering. And so those are going to be like, so you supply information to make better decisions. That's like essentially like at the very highest level, that's what data engineering is all about. So where it's better than software engineering in terms of like, so one of the things that sucks about software engineering is like if the server goes down, like the business like dies, right? It's like they're done, like, and you have to solve it like right now, right?
That's why we have like on-call support.
Yeah, on-call in software engineering freaking sucks.
Yeah.
The good news about data engineering is that like for the most part, like the on-call, like you don't have to wake up at 3 a.m. because like usually a delayed data set is not going to have that much of an impact on the business. It depends though. Like for smart pricing, the smart pricing data set, the delay there, like it was bad. If it was more than 4 hours delayed, it was bad, right? And it would start to have a negative impact. So like, but like for a lot of models and a lot of things, like even if it's like more than a day, right? It's like, so most of the time in data engineering, the on-call is like a 24-hour turnaround. So it's like, okay, if something breaks, you got a day just to figure it out. You don't have to like, you don't have to get pinged in the middle of the night to like solve it, right? That is like probably the thing that I like the most about data engineering, is because you don't have to deal with any of that madness. But on the same side though of that is something that I find frustrating about data engineering, is because of that, quality in pipelines and quality is just kind of takes a back seat a little bit of the time, because people are like, I just want to build this pipeline as quickly as possible, because we don't have to worry about quality, because the consequence of poor quality is not, it doesn't slap you in the face like it does in software engineering, right? In software engineering, like if you do bad quality on your REST API, you're going to get slapped pretty fast, and you're going to be very aware that you need to do a better job. But in data engineering, a lot of times those pipelines can just like be bad and low quality for a long time, right? And it's crazy.
Yeah. And I guess rewind a little to like back to the 5 essential skills. So you said like programming languages.
Programming languages. The second one is distributed compute. So the most famous framework there is a framework called Apache Spark. Spark is really awesome. There's a lot of other choices there though, and that's why I like to say distributed compute, because I don't like to sell technologies. I like to sell like the fundamentals. So you have the main ones there are like Spark, Snowflake, BigQuery. Those are going to be your big, the three big options in that space. And so like the whole idea behind distributed compute is you have so much data that you can't process it all on one machine. You need to use many, many machines to process the data. And so like, for example, I worked on a pipeline at Netflix, and that pipeline was every hour it processed 200 terabytes of data every hour. And so that pipeline needed 15,000 computers to process it, because we needed that 200 terabytes to be processed in an hour. It needed to imagine trying to download 200 terabytes on your machine, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna take more than an hour, like for sure.
Yeah. Might take like a week.
A week, right? Yeah, exactly. So that's why the only way that you can actually process that amount of data is by, blasting it into a bunch of chunks and then having each chunk processed by a computer, and then they use teamwork to kind of do horizontal scalability, where you just keep adding more machines as the data gets bigger. And so understanding that concept is important in data engineering, because a lot of the times you're working with very large data sets, right? And that's going to be a very, very important second skill. Third skill, I'd say, is data modeling. So understanding like how to actually build data sets that are nice to use. There's a bunch of like religions in this category, right? Like there's one called Kimball, there's one called Inman, there's one called Data Vault, there's one called One Big Table. I always like One Big Table because that name sounds like a it's kind of sounds like a bad pattern, right? It's like, don't do data modeling, just put it all in one table, don't worry about it, right? Like, but it's interesting because like One Big Table, that modeling paradigm is something that's coming up, and it's actually like pretty new. Like I think it's been like 2-3 years of like that new type of data modeling, and it's like another kind of awesome way to go. So yeah, definitely knowing data modeling, super important, because then it's like because that one is very important, because like if you build data sets that are hard to query, or you build data sets that are hard to get information out of, you're not a very good data engineer. It's like it's kind of like building a website that like the buttons are like hard to click, right? Or they're hard to see, right? Like because there is like a UI aspect to data engineering, and that's going to be the names and data types of your columns. Right, that's going to be the UI that you deal with as a data engineer, and that's essentially what data modeling is like how do you design that the right way. 4 is going to be data quality. So data quality is going to be like how can you make sure that your data set is quality, and then also what do you do when you encounter bad data, because bad data is always there, it's always going to be a thing. So there's a couple different things there. There's a thing called Write, Audit, Publish, and I love it because this name is WAP, like WAP, and I'm always like, Cardi B ruined the name of this. It destroyed the name. Yeah. But WAP pattern actually precedes Cardi B, so it's older than Cardi B. So, but like that pattern is important because that's essentially a way to guarantee that bad data won't enter production. So that's like a very common pattern that's very important. And then understanding like data quality checks, like checking for duplicates, checking for nulls, checking for like excessive volume or not enough volume, like those like essentially like what is normal. Think about like what normal looks like, and then how can we look at an incoming data set and determine if it's abnormal. And so that's going to be data quality. Another good framework to look at there is this thing called Great Expectations. It's a like a data quality framework that you can use that is pretty good. And then I would say the final like 5th thing is going to be like business sense and product knowledge, and like understanding like, because a lot of times as a data engineer you get asked by like 50 people to provide value in different ways, and understanding how to prioritize those things. And the only way to really understand the right way to prioritize those things is understanding how your data impacts the business, and how like what is the value that I'm creating by creating this data set, and really having a good idea behind like how this data impacts the business and how it's linked is going to be that 5th and like also very important skill. And if you can do those 5, you're going to crush it as a data engineer for sure.
Wow, that was really informational. It's almost as if you teach this.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I kind of wanted to ask you, I guess, kind of like a fun little question. So moving from Utah to San Francisco, tell me about that. How was that? What did you like? What did you not like? Because I have my opinions about San Francisco.
That's great. So I moved in 2016. I had a crazy year when I moved, actually. 2016, I moved Utah to DC to San Francisco. That was all in like 7 months.
All across the country.
It was wild. I initially didn't live in San Francisco actually when I moved out to the Bay, because I looked at San Francisco and I was like, expensive.
Yeah.
Expensive. And like I liked the East Bay for that reason, right? So like my first 2 years in the Bay, I actually lived in Fremont. I shared this freaking big, it was like a 5-bedroom house with like 4 roommates. my rent there was actually really reasonable. It was like 600, 700 a month for my rent.
That's awesome.
There. And for the Bay Area, that's, I mean, I know that that's impossible now. That's an unattainable number now, but like for 2016, 2017, great. And I'm like, and that was awesome. And then like, I realized, I guess when I left Facebook and Netflix offered me so much more money, I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter now. Rent, the amount of money I pay for rent really doesn't matter that much anymore. And so that's when I moved to San Francisco, right? And like my rent went up a lot. It went from like 700 to 25, like 700 to 2,500, which was freaking, that was a lot. I was like, wow, that's freaking pricey. But that was pretty awesome. Like San Francisco has ebbed and flowed. Like I really liked it in 2018, 2019. Those years, it was like, it felt like it was like its heyday. COVID really hit San Francisco really hard because of like a bunch of reasons, like even more than just the pandemic itself, but because of work from home, right? Work from home. And then people are like, why should I live in this obscenely expensive city when I can live in freaking, I don't know, Austin, Texas? I feel like work from home was the best thing that happened to Austin, Texas and Seattle, Austin, Texas and Seattle, because it's like,
and Atlanta.
And it's like, cause you move there and it's like, you get like, I thought about that and I was like, wow, I could move to Seattle and just get a freaking $60,000 raise because you just don't have the 10% tax. There's no tax, right? There's no state tax, right? So, and it's like, that pays for rent. It's like, I moved to Seattle, rent is free, right? Just because I'm not giving that money to California, right? It's crazy to think about like how things are going. Like, I like San Francisco though for a couple reasons. I think the things that why I stay, right? Because I mean, I've lived here for the most part from 2018 until now. I've had a couple bouts where I've like left and I'm like, I'm done with this city, but I mostly stay for a couple things. One, I think that you can't beat the weather here. The weather here is unmatched. The weather here is the best in the world. Like, I feel like that's one of the things that is absolutely impossible to beat. That's a big one. I have a husky, so like she needs to like, I feel like Seattle would be okay because she's good with cold. But like when people like move to Austin, I'm like, Austin in the summer sounds terrible. And so I also really like the just the events that happen here. Like there's a lot of like influencers, a lot of LinkedIn people here, a lot of startups that happen here. I do a lot of events and go to a lot of different things out here that like I feel like if I lived in Atlanta or I lived somewhere else, I would just not do at all. I would just like not do any of those things. And so I like the networking aspect of it because I feel like that's the other thing for me. Because when I quit my job, I was actually deciding like, should I stay in San Francisco or should I go somewhere else?
Oh, okay.
And like I was like, I'm doing a startup, so I'm like, I should stay. I should stay because this is literally the #1 best city in the world for startups. So I'll stay, right? And but now that like but it's interesting though because now that I've found success, I'm like maybe not, maybe I should leave. Like, cause I'm like, I don't know. Like, cause now I already know I have like, all the uncertainty. And the uncertainty about my startup is now like essentially gone. And I know exactly what I need to do to deliver value. But like, it's been interesting. Like I've had a bunch of different things. Like, I just want to tell you a quick story about San Francisco. And like, you're right. You know, because you were here for like a year, right? Or
a month and a half.
Wow, you liked it so much. Wow.
I moved there because like initially like my work was there, but like turns out it was actually remote, so I didn't really have to stay there. City was dirty. I didn't like it. And I was actually paying $2,500 in rent. So ridiculous, crazy amounts, like more than I've ever paid before. Because like when I was in college, my rent was $950 a month and getting to $2,500, insane. So
what neighborhood did you live in? Like where did you live? Like
do you know Polk Clay Street? I forgot what that.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's like North Beach. Like Nob Hill.
Yeah,
Nob Hill.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. You lived in I literally like, so for me, like I was like, I have like my rent in San Francisco has varied a lot. Like 2018, it was 2,500. 2019, I actually got it down to 1,100. And then 2020, it was also 1,100. And then I went back up this year. I actually went back up to like even more now. It's like 27, 28. But like those years when it was 1,100, like I literally lived in like the worst place in San Francisco. Like I lived in the ghetto. I lived like, you know how San Francisco gets a bad rap for like poop on the ground and like drugs everywhere. Yeah, I lived in the heart of that. I lived like right in, like when I would walk outside on my street, there would be people just dying from drugs and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is like, it's
geez.
crazy that I live here. And I lived there for so long, like freaking 4 years. I don't like, because I lived like in on the border of Soma and Tenderloin. That was where I lived for like 4 years.
Okay,
like literally like one of the roughest spots in the city.
I hated walking by there.
yeah, terrible. And I mean, now I live in Mission Bay. Mission Bay is a lot better, way cleaner down here, right? But like, the city's crazy. The city is like, I do think that one of the things that I've noticed, at least with the city over like the last like year or so, is that it seems like things are coming back around. Like there's more events and more things happening again. Like, because I felt like 2021, like 2020, 2021, those 2 years, it was like really bad. That it was so bad. Like in 2021, I left. I moved back to Utah. I moved back to Utah for 8 months. And then I realized, like, after being in Utah for 8 months, I'm like, I remember why I left Utah. Like, I remember why I don't want to be here. And then I went back because I was like, it's like, I just traded problems, right? I'm like, the problems of SF are not as bad as the problems of Utah. So like, I'm fine with what I got here. But yeah, like it's a journey, man. So like, how are you liking like living at home now? I mean, I think you're doing a very smart decision, man. Like of like just stockpiling money, right? And just like freaking
appreciate it. Yeah,
crushing it, right?
That's pretty much, you get to stockpile money. Not paying that $2,500 just out of the drain has been like awesome. And also just like as a remote worker, the freedom and like flexibility that I have, to pretty much, if I want to go to the gym in the middle of the day or go grab lunch with someone, as long as I make my meetings, get my work done, it's chill. I can do whatever I want. And like, I'm back home, my hometown friends, my childhood friends are here. So it's been pretty pleasant. I moved exactly like a year ago, and it's been pretty pleasant so far. So
smart. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that as long as you can, man. Like, it's like, why not? Right. It's like, I think it's like, especially like if you have that 2,500 and you're like, I'm not spending this money. I'm not saving this money. I'm only spending the 2,500 on fun, right? Yeah. That's a lot of money, dude. You can do a lot with that.
Yeah. So I guess moving forward, I wanted to ask you about one thing. So as a person who's like had this pretty insane salary progression jumping, and you mentioned a lot about like just delivering value to these companies, could you define that a little more? Like, what can our audience take from that to
100%
deliver value?
100%. So like some of the stuff you should be able to quantify. Like, I mean, there is a couple different things here, right? I'll go into a little bit of detail here, but like, so generally speaking, at these big tech companies, you have impact on like 3 or 4 axes. So you have one impact is what I call like vertical impact, which is the most common type of impact. Like, think about it like you build a feature that collects or you do a feature or an optimization that increases revenues by 5% or 3% or something like that. Like you add some sort of software, makes revenue go up. That's one type of impact. Another type of impact is around like people impact. So you have, in that case, with people impact, like imagine mentoring people, teaching people, interviewing like at Facebook and all these companies, there is an expectation that you interview like 2 or 3 people a week. So people impact is another important one. Another important one is what I call horizontal impact, which is where you are impacting how work gets done. So, for example, at Netflix, one of the things I hated was when I was deploying my pipelines, it would take 4 minutes to deploy my pipeline. And I was like, this is too long. Because I was like, I thought my code was like 1 megabyte. I'm like, why does it take 4 minutes to deploy? So anyways, I like dug into it and I learned that there was all these like unused dependencies that were in there. So what I did was I wrote this little script that determined which dependencies were used or not, and it would remove the unused dependencies. And then it went from taking 4 minutes to taking 20 seconds. And then that and if you deploy 10 times a day, like, I mean, you save half an hour, right? And then, but the thing is like the impact, that's good for you. Cool. You save half an hour a day. Like you get like half a week of work, or you get half a day of work back a week. But like, that's not where the impact is. The impact is then getting that script adopted by the rest of the company, right? And then that is where, because then everyone gets half a day back. And then that's where you get this called horizontal impact, where you are not just making you better, but you're making everyone else around you better. So like that type of impact is very important, especially like if you're trying to go from senior engineer to staff engineer. If you're trying to go that next level, you really do need to be working in like in what's called an enablement role, like where you are making other people better. Because if you're not making other people better, like you're not ready to be a staff engineer, you're not ready to be a leader. And that's like a very important part of like impact. So to give you some ideas, I guess like I think especially for your audience, like for me, when I got promoted from junior engineer at Facebook to mid-level, right? So a couple things I did there, like one was I created a new metric at Facebook called reachability. So what reachability did was it measured what percent of Facebook users that we could send a notification to. Because the problem was like the notification team, they were running experiments. And then one of the things they noticed was the more notifications we send to people, the more growth we get, right? We get more growth, right? But like there's not like, but the picture is more complicated than that, right? Because it's like, if I sent you 10,000 notifications, the odds that you click on one is kind of high, but the odds that you are annoyed is also pretty high, right? And so what reachability did was it gave a good counter metric. So like when the notification teams were running experiments on like how many notifications they were sending, it would give them a good picture of like what the other side looks like. Like, are people turning off their settings? Is that the problem? Is that what's going on? Or like what is happening in terms of that on the other side of this kind of like building counter metrics, right? So that was a big thing I did. The other big thing I did was I incorporated Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. So those like 4 apps. I built a pipeline that merged all of their metrics so that like Mark Zuckerberg could look at it and like you could see like all the charts of like, oh, this like how is WhatsApp and Instagram growing and all these different like visualizations. And like Zuckerberg even said, he's like he messaged me and said, this is the most clear growth of the clear picture of growth I've ever seen. Right.
Oh, wow.
He messaged me that
Nice.
and I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's what I did. Like those were the 2 main things I did to get promoted to mid-level engineer. I don't think that you actually need that much to get promoted to mid-level engineer. I probably would have got promoted with less than that. There's all sorts of different ways that you can have impact at companies. Like I especially as a software engineer, one of the things that I think is very important to think about is not just what work you're doing, but how work is getting done. Like, because if you think more about the how and not just the what, that is what is going to make you, that's what's going to take you to that next level of engineering where you are like you are making your whole team faster. And that's where you're going to really see a lot of benefits and dividends in the effort that you put in.
You know, I think amongst all your impacts, like for our audience who might be like overwhelmed with like everything that you've done, and like kudos to you. But like I think the easiest way that you guys could get started is like that whole like mentoring people, just like helping out junior engineers or interns who like join in the company. That's like the easiest way that you can show your impact, because you're an engineer at this company. You know what's going on a day-to-day basis. The interns are literally college students without a clue in the world of how software engineering or data engineering works. So just like help them out. Talk to them. Be like a buddy. Be a mentor for them. You know.
Oh man, I got to tell a story real quick about an intern at Facebook, real quick. So I managed an intern at Facebook in 2018. So Facebook had this machine learning algorithm called Nudge. Nudge, essentially, what it does is it's a personalization algorithm for your notifications. So like you can think of like Facebook could send you tens of thousands of different notifications, but like depending on who you are, it should filter it down to like a very specific set and then send you those. And so anyways, I was working with this intern, and I like that intern ended up like dropping the production table, like just dropped it. Like, and so it was so crazy because then like because those pipelines back then were not with Spark. They were actually built on Hive, and Hive pipelines are incredibly slow because every computation has to be written to disk. Like, so Hive is like crazy. Like the only way that you can do like, so if you do 1 + 1, what you do is you write a file that has a 1 in it, and you write another file that has a 1 in it. You read those files, and then you write another file out that has 2, right? It's like, and like, there's no RAM computation at all. It's all done on disk, right? So anyways, he dropped the table, and I was like, wow, like this guy like actually dropped like the production table, like, and he actually made notifications at Facebook go kind of haywire for like about a day because there was no training data. The model had no training data. And so they had to go back. Like wasn't too bad because like we just ended up going back to an older version of the model that was less performant, but it did actually impact Facebook. And then I was like, wow, bro, you got to like be careful. You can't just like be dropping tables like that have like terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. It was funny though, because like when he dropped it, the way I noticed that he dropped it was I was looking at our efficiency quotas of like how much data we were using. And I was like, at first I was like really proud of him because I was like, wow, like how did we save like 500 terabytes? This is amazing, right? And I was like very excited. And then I was like, oh, that's what he did. Yeah, no, that's not the right. No, that was not the right call. So yeah, and it's like it's interesting how how companies can do different things and like have different constraints, right? Where like at other companies that would just not be possible because like they would have the right access controls and limitations, right?
Yeah,
and depending on the company, but Facebook, especially back then, they're different now. I bet that's not possible at Facebook now, but it was then. Because back then they had like the whole move fast and break things. They were all about move fast and break things. That was their company culture. And then when I was there, they actually were like, no, we're done with move fast and break things. And I was like, wow. I was like, I joined for that. I joined to break things. Like,
So I guess progressing a little more in your story. So you quit a $600,000 job to go into content creation business without having made a dime from content creation or like your business. How did you have the gall or the confidence to do that?
I had the confidence because I played the part a little bit. Like, so one of the things that is important, like if you're trying to make a big life change, is you need to surround yourself with people who are on that path. So for me, what I did back in like January, like a year ago, I actually lived in a creator house where I went, and there were two other creators. I don't know, you might know them. Their names are Ken G and Tina Huang. I did a creator house with them. I lived with them for 6 weeks just to learn like how to do this. Cause they both quit. They quit, like they both had been doing it for like 18 months. They'd both been like full-time creators for like a while. Right. And I was like, I wanted to just learn from them and grow from them. And like, after living with them for 6 weeks, I was like, yeah, I can do this. I could do this easy. Like I just like seeing like what they actually did, like, and seeing how they made their money and all that stuff. I was like, I can do this easily. This is not like going to be that crazy. I think.
So like, what did you learn? Yeah.
What did I learn? Great question. So one of the things I learned was like, it is a lot about building community. Like, and if you have that community, that is going to give you the money. It will give you the money in one way or another. You will get that money. Community is a big part of it. Another big part of it is just having multiple income streams. Like, so that's one of the reasons why I started my newsletter and all this other stuff, right? Was because I knew I needed to have other income besides just like boot camps or other things. And I learned that like I needed to make more videos because at that point I was really only on LinkedIn. Now I'm everywhere. Now I'm freaking everywhere. It's crazy where I'm at now. But like, and I would say those are the things. And then other things was just like around like getting your value proposition the right way, like understanding like what you can do. And I guess the other one was just like taking risks, like, and just trying it out, right? And like, and then being okay with risk, because there is a lot more risk in being an entrepreneur than being an employee. I've noticed and felt that in various different points throughout my entrepreneur journey. It seems like how it works for me is like I either like my income in months as an entrepreneur, like there's some months where I've made like $200,000-$300,000 in a month. And then there's other months where I've made like 10 grand, right? And I'm like, or 20 grand, right? And I'm like, and that's even after I made 200, right? And I'm like, wow, this is like, imagine like if that's how your job worked, right? It was like, it's very uneven. But understanding that uneven nature is actually a good thing, because that is what is, that's just showing that the top, the cap, because like making $200,000 in a month is also something that like is just not going to happen at a job. I mean, because if you could do that, that'd be like $2 million. That'd be like $2 or $3 million a year. Like the number of jobs that actually pay that are very, very, very few. You might have to, if you're like you're the top researcher at OpenAI, you might get there. That's like essentially it. But like I learned a lot from them. And like I'm very grateful for that experience, because like I think that's what kind of like got me to that level where I'm like, okay, I can quit. I mean, I freaked out though, like for sure. I like had like, there was like a week there, like between like where like I I had a one-on-one with my manager, and I was like, and I didn't do it, right? And I was like, I hesitated, right? Because I was like, ooh, like, because I just like, it just felt like I was like jumping off a cliff, right? Right? And I just couldn't like, and so I had this, and then especially like the first 2 months after I quit, dude, like it was hard, very hard, because like I didn't make any money. I made no money for the first 2 months after I quit. And then then it started coming in, then it started rolling in. Then I launched my first boot camp, and like I started making some money, and I was like, okay, it's not the end of the world, right? But the other thing I did, one other thing I did that I think was super important was I set aside a year. I was like, here is 1 year of living expenses. And I told myself, I'm like, if this runs out, if I like suck that bad at being an entrepreneur, that this runs out in a year, then I will go back and get a big tech job. I think that's one of the things that's important to do. Like if you're thinking about quitting and doing those things, is that like, you just recognizing the statistics are not on your side. But the statistics are not on your side. Like I think it's like one in 10 startups are successful. 1 in 10. Yeah. Imagine like being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go quit a $600,000 job for a 10% chance of being successful, right? Like, freaking, like it's like, so like that's where it's important to time box and like box these things where you're like, I'm gonna give myself this much runway, or I'm going to try and do this much, and just be like, I'm running this experiment in my life right now just to see what happens. And then like understanding that like, I'm not just going to keep doing this until I have no money and then I'm homeless or whatever. Right. Yeah. Like, and that like, this is not just like my new life forever, right? That like I can always go back. And one last thing that was very important is Airbnb actually has what's called a boomerang policy, where if you are what's called regrettable attrition. So that's where like, you're a good engineer that leaves the company and they wish you wouldn't have left. If you're what's called, if they mark you as regrettable attrition, you can get your job back within a year. If you like, so even right now, I could call up Airbnb and be like, hey, give me my old job back. And they would do it. They would do it. They would actually do it. Right. Okay. And so like, that was the other thing where I was like, all of that together made me realize I'm like, this is no risk. Actually, there's no risk here. Like, because that's like, the worst thing that happens is I just get my old job back. That's literally like the worst thing that happens is I'm in the exact same spot I am right now. Right. And so like, yeah, it's freaking crazy. Like, awesome. Like how all that happens, you know. Entrepreneurship is awesome though. I love it. Like, yeah. Are you doing any entrepreneurship stuff, or like, what are you trying to do? You're growing your stuff, right? I mean, you're blowing up on TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, just pretty recently, I think I started making money like in September, October. Finally like grew my account to the point where I was eligible to like make money. And then in November, December, sponsorship started reaching out. And in December, I finally made $10,000 from like sponsorships and views. And that was like the most money I've made like from a business venture up until that point. And so now it's been going great. I'm planning on launching something in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to say anything yet, or actually by the time this video airs it should be out. You'll see it in the description somewhere, but it's just something of value that I hope helps people out. And yeah, I just keep putting things out. I don't know, like I know some people ask, would you ever quit and do social media like full time? At this point, probably not. Like I'm pretty like young in the game. I want to like learn as much as I can, and I'm able to like do this while balancing like a full-time job. Might as well continue it until I can't, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I think like that makes a lot of sense, and that like especially because then you can build up more of a kind of a profile too of like who you are as a person, right? And like working these jobs can be a great thing, right? To do that. Like I definitely think that like having a track record has helped me a lot. Like because I know that there's like a stereotype of like people who are like the engineer who gets a job at Facebook, he works there for 6 months and quits and then sells a course on how to get into Facebook, right? That's like and I don't know. I don't know if I get that vibe from you. I don't know. Like,
yeah, no, I don't want to be that person. Like I just want to like keep like learning like as much as I can, and just like, you know, my main thing is just like providing like free content. That's kind of like my main platforms right now, is just like providing free content, just helping out where I can, you know?
Yeah. And that's like where, I mean, honestly, that's where you get you get a benefit there. Cause I did the same thing for 2 years, right? Cause I've been making content for about 3 years now. I started in January 2021. And one of the things that was really nice is I didn't monetize for 2 years at all. didn't ask for a dime, didn't really monetize at all. And like that built a ton of trust with people because it was just like, hey, like here's free value. Here, have some more free value. Hey, here you go, more value, right? And it's just like for no reason, like just like I don't expect anything from you, right? And so like that is like because I think one of the things that you are smart about doing here about working a job is understanding that there are the difference between financial capital and social capital. Because the thing is like, if you have this job where you're making good money, like you don't actually need any of the social media money at all. Like you don't need it. Like you'd be fine. Like you would be still well on your way to an early retirement, even without a dime from social media. The thing is like that not having the pressure to make money from social media also makes it so that your brand is a lot more like you only take a sponsorship deal if it makes a lot of sense. Right. It's like you only take it like and it puts you in a position of power. Right. And it makes it so that like you can keep building up more friends and fans and all this stuff. Right. And that stuff is more important anyways than making money. Like it really is. And like because like I've always thought about this way. It's way more important to have a ton of friends than it is to be really rich. Actually, that's like it's a life philosophy I have for sure.
And, you know, speaking on that point, like, I know a lot of people, they ask, like, can you do computer science or software engineering only for the money? And the thing is, like, you shouldn't, but also if you aren't super passionate about it, but you're super passionate about like starting a business or something else, it gives you a lot of capital to do that. Like all the money that you're earning from this like high paying like tech job, you're able to invest in like literally whatever you want, any crazy business venture that you want. And like you said, like even if it fails, you'll still be chillin' with your tech job, you know?
Yeah. And like, I think that like going into tech for the money is fine. I mean, it's just like, it's similar to people who go into sales for the money, like, and that's fine. Like, I don't know. I personally feel that like whether or not you're passionate about something doesn't matter that much. I think it like if you want to like have the same career growth as me and you're doing it just for the money, it's not going to happen because like you have to like be obsessed, right? You have to be so obsessed, right? And the only way that you can be be as obsessed as I have been in my career is you have to love it. You have to love every minute of it. And you have to like really like find all of that passion and drive and energy because like otherwise like you're not gonna get there, right? Like I mean you can still make great money though. That's the thing about it is that like that's why software is so nice, right? Is like even if you want to coast, even if you just like want to be like a C student software engineer, like you're still gonna make great money and like and like you can make great money, have a good work-life balance, all that stuff, right? And like I mean I think from my perspective is there is a group of people who I think like shouldn't. I think that it's different. I think that like asking should I go into software engineering for the money is the wrong question to be asking. It's more is software engineering a fit for my personality? Because I also think that like one group of people, like I have this friend Will. Will is one of my favorite people. He is amazing person. He is also the most extroverted person I've ever met. Like this man has like. He like can literally like he could be in any city in the world and have a couch to sleep on because he has a friend in that city because he's just like he just has talked to so many people. But one of the things is like that personality trait is exactly why he doesn't like software engineering, right? Because if you are like an extremely extroverted person, sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day typing code is gonna make you miserable. Right. Yeah. And it's like, even if you're doing it for the money, like, it's like, it doesn't gel with you as a person. Right. And so like, I really think that like people need to be thinking more about like what the job is on a day-to-day basis and less about how much it pays, because there's always something else you can do. Right. Like, because one of the things I've always thought about is like for those people, and this is one of the things I've been trying to nudge Will in this direction. I'm like, dude, just do DevRel. You make the same money, or sometimes you make even a little bit more, and you never code. You just talk to engineers. It's literally like
wait. So job. What is DevRel?
DevRel, developer relations. We're like, I've thought about doing developer relations because I know I could do a good job. And it would be a chill way to make like 200, 300K and just like freaking just have conversations with people. And I think it would actually be a pretty good fit for me as well as I've grown. Because like one of the things I've noticed with content, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this too. Like, so before 2021, like, have you ever taken like Myers-Briggs at all? Like the
that personality test.
So like before I was making content, my Myers-Briggs was very consistently INTJ, like the mastermind kind of archetype. Early 2022, it actually kind of shifted, and I shifted from INTJ to ENTJ. So I honestly feel like making content has made me more of an extroverted person. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you think that as content like shifted who you are at all?
In terms of like being like an extrovert, I think I've always been that, or at least like ever since I went into college, I've been like rather extroverted, just trying to like meet people, make friends. Like that's just been like my personality trait. I think content has been just like a way for me to like exhaust that in a sense, like use my personality trait to like my benefit, right? Like being extroverted and all that, and creating videos, and then ultimately getting to talk to people like through that. But I think content has given me like a sense of like fulfillment in that like I can't just be a person who's just like a software engineer. I can't be just like a student. Like I have to like provide something. I have to like do something extra. Otherwise I think I would go insane, you know? So in that regard, it's definitely like been that like keeping me sane vibes.
Yeah, I mean, like, I totally agree with that. Where it's like, it's hard to like, well, part of it is like, I think for me is like, part of it is just like doing the same thing is like, and that's why I like content, because like it gives me more of like a different vibe, right? Where it's like, if I'm just like in React, that I'm just like writing another React component and I'm getting mad at server side rendering, and I'm just like, and then that's my whole life. Like, no, I can't do it. I have to have like, I have to dabble. I have to have other areas where I have impact and some sort of way of doing stuff, right? And that like, it makes sense. It makes sense because then you can grow multidimensionally, right? Where if you're a multifaceted, multidimensional person, like if you are in a role that really only speaks to one dimension of who you are, like that's going to be a problem. Like that's why for me, one of the things that I've been trying to get more into is just like getting more active and more like getting way more into dance, right? Because I know I'm a very like hyperactive like kind of person, and like I think that like even with content and my business, there are sides of me that I still feel are like untapped, and that I need to like get those out, right? I actually have an Instagram, zach.flexible. That's like my new Instagram account. It's dedicated to dance and yoga, right? Because I'm trying to kind of speak more to that side as well, right? Because I feel like when you do that and you are able to kind of fully encompass all of the things that like make you happy, that's when you really are in a very powerful position to just like be creative, be generative, have just relentless energy, right? Where you're just like, I can freaking build and code and create all day long, right? And like I'm sure people have asked you that, right? They're like, where do you get the energy, right? Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like for me, it's like the fulfillment and like that drive that I have to like do something extra that like wakes me up every day, you know? Like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, Zach, it's been it's been a pleasure talking to you. I've personally like learned a lot. I didn't know anything about like data engineering pretty much till like you gave me like this crash course right here. So thank you for that. And for those who are curious, check out Zach's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. What other platforms you got?
Twitter, Substack, right? I'm everywhere, man. Like I'm literally like I try to be Mastodon. I'm everywhere, man. I try to be a Twitch. I'm trying to grow on Twitch now. Twitch is the new one. Twitch is the new frontier for me. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So thanks for joining on, and I hope you guys got a benefit from this.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me too, man. This has been amazing.
All right, cool. All right, take care. Bye.